Wow, looks like we're live. Having some issues with StreamYard. I never had this problem before. Um, Welcome to the Unstuck sessions. It's been a minute since I've done a live stream, maybe about 2 weeks or so. I'm trying to get more consistent on it because of what I got cooking. So um, I have a lot of information to update y'all with. So I appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll get into nonsense, and I will jump into it after the intro. Peace. Welcome back to the Unstuck Sessions. The Unstuck Sessions is basically a place where we can have real conversations about business ownership. I can kind of share what I've learned in my time marketing my own businesses and a lot of the stuff I had to teach myself to be successful as a business owner. And it's just a community where we can talk. And so the reason why we're doing this specific live stream is to announce the fact that I'm actually taking the concept of the Unstuck Sessions and building an online community around it. It's good for you if you're a business owner or somebody that's aspiring to be a business owner. So you can be in the room with other business owners. There is a value in networking, but I think one of the things is there's a value in networking, but it's not just about the transaction. And so that's what the community is about. So I'll get into all the gory details of building out the community and what that's going to offer moving on. But I kind of want to give a little bit of background about specifically why and what qualifies me to speak on this. So the reason why I wanted to build an online community was I realized that I can't scale myself. What that means is I was doing a lot of agency services for a lot of businesses, and there's only one of me. And I was kind of burning the candle at both ends, and I wasn't necessarily giving the best of myself to my family and other things. And so what I wanted to do was find a way to actually teach people how to be their own marketing department so that they can market their own businesses or eventually outsource their marketing, because that's eventually the goal. You want to outsource the things. If you want to, if that's what your goal is, you want to outsource the things that you don't enjoy about your business so you can focus on the things that make money and the things that help you grow. And so I want to teach business owners how to be their own marketing department or how to manage a marketer if they bring in somebody from the outside. And so that's where the Unstuck Sessions was born. In the community, there's going to be conversations about it's a private community, so the only people that are going to see the stuff in there are going to be members. I kind of struggled with that and wrestled with that because I really do want to teach everybody how to do their own marketing and stuff and open up a pathway for a lot of business owners to have real conversations. But at the same time, I do need to protect the people that join the Unstuck Sessions. And so I started a community on Skool. And you can see it in the link you probably should see the link in the post that I made that's describing this, but I will put a link to my Skool community in the comments so that you can see it. I'm still building out a lot of the coursework and stuff and really just getting people on board with it at first. And then as we grow, it's going to be more courses and things along those lines, teaching basic marketing concepts. I have some friends that I want to invite in who are experts in specific fields of advertising and marketing and stuff. And it gives them a chance to network with potential clients, but at the same time, share what they know with my Skool community. And so let me go ahead and drop that in the comments. And so it should be posting. You should see it in all the comments at the top. Like I said, and I'm pinning it so that it's highlighted. The impetus behind wanting to do this is I had to figure out a way to scale what I was doing, to share it with as many people as possible without feeling the need to replicate myself and stretch myself too thin. Because a lot of times you think that people, and it's kind of a human nature thing. People have things that they need to get done and they have goals they need to accomplish during the day. You stretching yourself too thin isn't going to win you any trophies or medals from anybody. Um, all it's going to do is do damage to yourself. And so I had really kind of spread myself too thin in terms of trying to take on too many marketing projects at the same time. And I actually enjoy teaching people what I know. That's what it is. And I had to figure out a way to do that in a way that makes sense for what we're trying to do, makes sense for what I want to do, but at the same time can replace the idea of me running my own marketing agency. I'll still do one-off services for friends and family and for clients that I've worked with, and or if I offer one-off services, I can give you a rate. But realistically, I do want to pivot hard into the coaching and teaching piece of it. And there's a couple of reasons why. One of the major reasons why I want to teach people how to do their own marketing is so that they can have a better understanding of what actually marketing is. For me, the way I teach it is marketing is pretty much everything about how your business runs. I think people treat it as this monster that they lock up in the basement that, the monster enjoys them and is nice to them, but eats everybody else. And they just try to outsource the care of that monster to, babysitters and stuff like that. And the monster devours the babysitters. And instead of figuring out a way to integrate the monster into their normal lives so that they can both coexist happily, they just keep trying to outsource it. And every time they outsource it, they spend more money doing it. And they don't get the results they're looking for. And so your marketing is kind of like that. A lot of times people spend a lot of time trying to outsource it and just hire somebody and shut their brain off so they can focus on the other tasks of the business. Well, the reality is a lot of the other tasks of the business are actually your marketing. Your marketing is how you greet people when they walk in the door. If you have a brick and mortar shop, your marketing is how your staff answers the phone. All of these things tie into how you identify yourself and brand yourself in that space. And so I think it's important to actually spend time in your own marketing so that you can learn why your customers, why they keep coming to you. And you can supervise somebody and say, hey, this message doesn't necessarily resonate with the clients that I really want to serve. Can you change it here, here, and here? So it kind of arms you with the information so that you can take better control of it. Again, I'm a work in progress myself. And I think one of the challenges is when you open an agency, people are expecting an expert in the box. And so you're supposed to know how to do everything at the same time. And for me, and I know it's not necessarily a thing, I trust people that have the courage to tell me I don't know, but I'll find out. But I feel like sometimes you get judged, especially if you're the expert in the box, when you actually are honest with people and say, you know what, I don't know. And so what happens is you get locked into this, where you're given half an answer or an answer that you're not 100% sure of, just because you're scared to say, I don't know. And that's one of the issues I ran into, is there are things where I had a kind of an outside understanding of it, but if somebody asked my opinion on it, I felt compelled to give them my answer. And more times than not, I would drift more towards like, well, I don't know, but I think I can learn how to do that. And that isn't great when you're trying to sell yourself as the expert. Again, I'm a work in progress. A lot of the marketing stuff I learned from hands-on. And since a lot of digital marketing changes every couple of weeks, the idea is giving you a framework to work within that has the room and maneuverability to adjust for new and emerging trends. Like right now, we don't know if TikTok's going to be around by the end of the year. I mean, it'll still be present, but we don't know if you're going to have to go outside the app store to update it or whatever. We don't know if it's going to be necessarily easily accessible in the United States. That's a real thing. Everybody thought it was a bluff, but DJI is kind of facing that right now because their drones are officially banned from the federal government. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't buy a DJI product or a drone or whatnot, but if you're trying to get um, like federal contracts and stuff, you can't really use their products. And it's hard to find other drones that are that reliable. There'll probably be some out there, but that's the brand that a lot of people use just because of ease of use. I'm actually recording right now on a DJI camera, if you can see. And this thing tracks me. It can go up to 4K. It can do a lot of other stuff. That's really cool, but it's banned. If I was a federal contractor or something, I couldn't really use it. So it's good to have kind of a framework that you can use, but that is flexible enough. Sorry, I'm switching my audio over. You want to have a framework that you can use, that is flexible, that allows you the flexibility to adjust on the fly. And a lot of times the stuff with digital marketing, trends with digital marketing change every couple of months. And so by the time you master one platform, they may change the entire way that their back end works. And the marketing stuff that you've learned is kind of antiquated. So you have to learn how to adjust. The Unstuck sessions exist to give you kind of a framework of your marketing. And so the first course I'm building is going to be your own marketing department. And the first module is how to create a client avatar. And I've talked at length about it, but a client avatar is your ideal client. And having an ideal client allows you to create a marketing message that speaks directly to the needs, wants, hopes, and desires of that client. And so I'm building out that module as we speak. I'm also training, I'm also teaching a current client how that actually looks and how to build that client avatar. So a lot of the courses is stuff that I'm actually teaching to my clients. It's pretty dope and it's fun. And I'm actually having a good time doing it. That's just what it is. So the Unstuck sessions is going to be where I capture a lot of the stuff I know about marketing. And it's more or less me teaching you everything with nothing held back. That's the reality. I don't like things where where somebody teaches you it, but they're keeping the best stuff and the best secrets for themselves. I'm not big into that. I believe I'm kind of in where there's an abundance of information out there and there's abundance. And so I don't really feel like I need to hold anything back when I'm teaching people. And so that's what the community is going to be. It's going to be a place where I can teach without feeling like I'm holding information back from people and holding the best parts and the secrets back for myself. I don't really believe in that. And so that's what the community is. Like I said, I'm building the first course is going to be your own marketing department. Module 1 is going to be the client avatar. And we're going to talk about designing the client avatar. We're going to talk about the purpose of the client avatar. We're going to build one, and then we're going to talk about how to use it to create your digital marketing message. That's the kind of content I'm putting in there. So before I get too far, I do have a little bit of outline I want to follow that basically it's like my elevator pitch for the Unstuck sessions and my Skool, and I'm trying to figure out what the name is. The Unstuck sessions in Skool. Skool is an online community platform, and I have my own community within Skool called the Unstuck sessions. So for those that don't know me, my name is Brian. I run a small marketing agency called I Sell Words. I'm using a lot of the skills that I have used to bootstrap small businesses. Right now, currently, my biggest success is bootstrapping a basketball training business into something that is growing into a 6-figure-a-year business. And I had a couple of meetings today. I had a networking meeting this morning, and I'm looking at some new opportunities with it. So I'm really excited. But basically, it's going to give you all the tips and things that I've learned helping bootstrap a small business to 6 figures without really any outside funding and, getting help here or there. But really, it's what we make and what we bring in the door that pays the bills. We don't have any institutional investors. And so it's the expertise that I've learned working with no budgets or micro budgets to deliver marketing outcomes to help grow a business. And that's what the Unstuck session is. It's also a place where you can get yourself unstuck. And a lot of times when we're going through business life or even just going through life in general, if we have an idea that we're trying to launch, we encounter different sticking points. And the Unstuck sessions is using my background, helping kids and families and stuff like that to really problem solve and figure out what your sticking points are and then figure out what a solution is to address them. So I'm going to get into that in the body of this. So again, my name is Brian. I have a marketing agency, plus I bootstrapped businesses using my marketing strategies. And I want to teach y'all how to do it. And I want to teach y'all how I got around various hangups and sticking points that I encountered along my path. And so that's what the Unstuck sessions is. I also I'm still managing ADHD. I have 2 teenagers that I'm trying to juggle for and stuff like that. And so, a lot of this is going to be conversations that are a little bit more personal, just talking about how I'm juggling or how I'm not juggling it, how I'm mismanaging it, and having transparent conversations so that we can all learn from each other. So, are you a business owner and you find yourself kind of overwhelmed? You don't know specifically what idea to go with. You see so many opportunities that you want to take. Are you struggling to focus on the right tasks? Or do you not know how to market or grow when you have limited resources and you feel like that's a sticking point for you? That's where the Unstuck sessions come in. The Unstuck sessions is a community space where entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs can come together to get clear, focused attention and take action, or just to come vent and meet with like-minded people and have real conversations about business ownership. We focus a lot on practical marketing strategies and a lot of mindset stuff, mindset shifts and things like that. And occasionally I'll throw in some productivity hacks I use to keep my ADHD brain focused on stuff so that I can get the outcomes that I want. And really all of it is about overcoming obstacles, because obstacles aren't barriers. They're opportunities that you haven't learned how to unlock yet. So my background is bootstrapped a couple of businesses, growing using marketing stuff that I've taught myself. And a lot of it is with limited or no resources, and it scales up to where you do have the resources to actually spend on your marketing. Managing ADHD as a business owner. It's been a struggle trying to do the 9-to-5 thing. Balancing when I was on medication, taking the medication and realizing what it was doing to my social and my family life, the medication was, and learning how to adjust without necessarily being medicated. And it's kind of a messy thing. It's not always a clean process. And so talking about different things that I've learned along my way, managing ADHD and being a business owner, and using the problem solving frameworks that I've learned with decades of helping kids and families solve their own problems, and getting families out of the court system, and establishing permanency for families with kids that have different issues and stuff. And so you learn a really unique set of problem solving where you have to work with what you got. It's the idea of cooking with what you got in the kitchen. You don't come in with the recipe. You make one up as you go along with the ingredients that you have available for yourself. And realistically, I've faced challenges firsthand, and now I'm sharing everything I've learned to help you succeed. I'm not holding anything back. I don't feel like there's any value in limiting the information. Now, that being said, the community starting out is free. Eventually, it will move to a paid thing, just because I realized through my years that people, I realized that people value things that they pay for, and they give attention to things that they pay for. And so the people that join now, you guys are locked in. Don't worry about it. But eventually the Unstuck sessions, the vision is this is going to transition over to a paid community. And the idea is the value it creates for the people inside will justify what we're asking per month on the outside. So what I want to do is offer in the Unstuck sessions, what I really want to do is from the value thing, I want to offer live coaching sessions to help you overcome and solve some of your biggest sticking points. Give you some classes and maybe even some step-by-step guides to teach you how to get started with marketing, or how to look at marketing from a new perspective, and how to be your own marketing department. Because I think that's really super important with your business. I can't stress that enough. And I don't think a lot of business owners spend enough time in their marketing before they outsource it. Give you tools and little hacks that I use to manage productivity. I am super in terms of digital. I store a lot of stuff. Google Recorder is amazing, and it transcribes stuff so I can get all those random ideas captured and remember them. And, I'm big about just storing information and storing ideas so I can come back to them later when I have actual time to process them. So, and there's going to be productivity hacks, but I don't necessarily have a system. I have things that work for me. And I think if you have things that work for you instead of a system, it gives you a little bit more flexibility to adjust it. And accountability and check-ins. Sometimes you just need somebody to say, hey, are you doing all right? And that's what the community is going to be for. It's going to be so that you can have a place where somebody just checks in, no judgment, and just ask, hey, are you doing all right? What do you need? How can we help? What questions do you have that we can help you solve and walk you through? And let's work together. So, and it's from other entrepreneurs or other people that want to get into the entrepreneur game. So if you have a business idea, this is a great place to come test it. And, you can talk to established business owners and learn how to get things set up. So I encourage y'all to join. Like I said, it's free for now, but go ahead and join. You'll see the link in the comments, and you'll also see the link in the descriptions. Join the Unstuck sessions at Skool and join as we build this thing together. For business owners, the benefit is we're going to have a community of business owners who are helping each other and do business with each other, because I'm not blind to the fact that this has to make money for people. It has to provide value. And so if the value is you find somebody that you trust to design a website, that's a value. If you find value in talking with a marketing coach, me, to help you figure out how to manage your social media manager, that's a benefit too. But I want to build a community that people get real value out of, because I feel like a lot of the networking stuff that's available out there is really just people not having real conversations or talking about everything that's going great in the business. And if you've seen the What's the Business podcast, I did one with Sarah McVeigh. She owns Eco Maids of Greater Omaha. We had this conversation, having real conversations about business ownership. We talk about the things that aren't so glamorous about it and really utilize each other as a resource to learn and grow. That's important. So join today. I'm getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's something I encourage a lot of business owners to do. Get comfortable having those uncomfortable conversations and stop trying to be so damn perfect and present perfect to the world, because we know it ain't perfect. So join today. Hopefully you got through all that rambling and stuff, and are seeing what my vision is, and it's going to grow. And it's going to shift a little bit, but the underlying purpose is to provide value to business owners and act as an incubator for aspiring business owners, so that you have a seasoned group of individuals that you can talk to and bounce ideas off of. So join the Unstuck sessions today, and let's get unstuck together. Like I said, you see the link in the description and the link in the comments. So, like I said, you don't have to stay stuck. Trust us, we can help you with the right strategies and support. You can take your business to the next level, and I'm here to help you succeed. So I kind of gave my rundown of what Obstacles. All right, let me repost that. Yeah, obstacles aren't barriers; they're opportunities. Love it. Thanks, Sean. Um, that's how I view it, because I think a lot of times we end up viewing these obstacles as things that are impediments that are stopping us, and there's opportunities for us to learn and how to get better, because we're always going to, more times than not, you don't just encounter something once, you encounter it multiple times, and the more times, the more reps you get to navigate the specific problem, the more efficiently you can handle that problem. That's just how I take it. And so a lot of times when life is telling you to give up, or it feels like life is telling you to give up, it just means that you need to figure out a different way to attack it. So I'm glad you got some value out of that. That makes me happy. Okay. I guess the next part is, and this is kind of off the cuff, so I'm kind of doing this without a specific outline, but I do want to talk about why I feel like there's a specific lane for a business owner that's not scared to say, hey, I'm a little bit neurodivergent. I'm dealing with ADHD and I'm trying to navigate my life with that. And I know the stigma is, if you talk about it, people say, well, that's an excuse you're building for yourself. Not really. The reality is, I realize there are things that I'm really competent in and things I can really excel at, and areas where I'm not so good at, and it's going to require a lot of me to actually be successful in. And that is a productivity hack for me, because and I know how I'm going to budget my time and what I need to allocate. And one of the things with ADHD that you encounter is you lose sense of how long things actually take to get accomplished. My thing is, it always takes longer than I think it's going to take. And so I end up overwhelming myself with task after task after task after task, trying to get stuff done and trying to make sure I'm delivering things on time and making sure that I'm not letting anybody down, and really feeling like I'm constantly failing people that trust me to help them out. And a lot of it has to do with, on that front end, I underestimate how long things are going to take, or how much mental energy is going to take for me to get it done. Some things I can crank out really, really almost freakishly fast, but those are things that I'm super interested in. Other things, it takes a little bit longer for me to create. And I don't really have that ability to pace myself. And sometimes it depends on what the day looks like. And so that's one of the challenges I encounter as a business owner with ADHD. I'm going to go back and take a step back and give you a little bit of the history of how I discovered it as an adult, because I had been diagnosed with ADHD when I was a kid. But I was a good student, and my ADHD was largely inattentive. But since I didn't really have to pay attention to it sounds like a flex, but it's really not. I didn't have to pay attention in a lot of my elementary school and middle school classes. And even some of my high school classes, I didn't necessarily have to pay attention to get it. And I kind of learned a lot of, I don't know if I want to use the word maladaptive, but they weren't great ways to manage. But I figured out ways around getting things done and doing what I need to do and doing the coursework and everything so that I can get it done and knowing enough to pass the test. And so my grades really didn't take a hit until I hit my sophomore and junior year, when my ADHD kind of made me struggle, because I actually had to put some brain power into the classwork. And even then I was still able to figure things out. And then college came. And I had a full ride scholarship, a full ride academic scholarship for engineering. And within, 4 semesters, I lost that, because I had no idea how to be a student. I know how to pass classes with ADHD, but that's different than being an actual college student. I'd realized that I was spending more time in the radio station. In hindsight, being 2020, that probably was my sign that was more my calling than me trying to go to school to be, buttoned up, suit and tie wearing, contributing member of society, because that's where my passion was. That's where it was easy for me to go. It was easy for me to go to the radio station, log on, jump in, do my show, maybe talk with a label executive here or there, write out my playlist, and get on the mic and talk, and play music and keep people engaged and entertained. That was fun for me. That was the stuff I didn't have to think of. And we had job offers and things like that didn't really pan out. But that was probably my sign of where I should have gone with life. But one of the things that happened was when I was looking, I had my pipe dreams of being this radio personality, and we had job offers and everything. One thing I was dealing with was my mom got diagnosed with cancer. And in my mind, I was creating a pathway so she didn't have to take care of me. In her mind, I was abandoning her. And that really derailed everything I wanted to do, to the point where I kind of ran away from the radio station and stuff I thought was my calling, to get a real job so I can stay here and help take care of my mom. And I gave up on that really fast. And the thing I naturally gravitated toward was working with kids and families, because I liked working with kids and families. I had done kind of a summer internship, if you want to call it that, at a major childcare, a major player in the residential youth care market locally. And y'all know who I'm talking about. And I decided, okay, I think this is what I want to do. So at that point, I took a job with a local agency that was doing basically evening and day reporting. And for those that don't know, that aren't in this world, day and evening reporting is basically babysitting for teenagers that are on probation. And so I managed that. And I did that up until a point where I got into conflict with my supervisor, because we had a kid that had a serious drug issue. And I was putting everything in the reports because I felt like the probation officers and judges and the stakeholders, if you will, needed to know that this kid was struggling. They were struggling with a relapse. And I was told that they don't need to know that. And I needed to remove that from a report. And basically I said, well, if you want that out of the report, then you need to do it yourself. I'm not signing my name to something that is fraudulent to the courts. That could absolutely destroy what I want to do moving forward in this field. And yeah. So long story short, I ended up back at that major provider. And I worked in the residential youth care for almost 10 years, close to. And I realized, near the end, my daughter was born, my first, and I needed a job. I thought I needed a job where I could be at home at night, because I still wanted to be around for dinner and bath time and all that other evening stuff that parents normally do. And so I took a job doing case management with the state. And that is where ADHD popped back up on me. That was the reemergence of my ADHD. Hindsight being 2020, I was doing a job that was impossible, because if you don't know, in my state, and there's other states that have done this, and it's blown up spectacularly in their faces as well. But they were trying to outsource case management, and they're trying to Trojan horse it on everybody. So the first part was, okay, we're going to have people that just manage the services. And so I was a service coordinator with this, with a contract agency with the state, which means I oversaw the implementation of the services. So if a kid was in a residential facility that the state was paying for, I would go and check in on them and put that in the report. And basically I was kind of the liaison, just what the service providers are saying, making sure the services are adequate for what the kids' needs are. And since a lot of the way that they do child care and psychiatric care and other levels of care is predicated on failure, the only way to get the correct level of care that you need is to fail at the one you're currently at. Well, the problem is, specifically for kids, once they fail at a specific level of service, they're already past getting their needs met at the next level of service. Well, the whole thing is predicated on failing upwards into the appropriate amount of service. But by the time you reach the appropriate amount, you need a higher level of care. And it becomes this beast that eats its own tail. So anyway, I'm doing the service coordinator thing. And then one day they bring us in and let us know that they've laid off all the state workers, and they're taking the state workers' jobs and folding them into ours as contractors. And so my kind of hard job became impossible overnight because we were doing 2 to 3 people's jobs at the same time. And so as an ADHDer, I'm struggling because I was fine with going out in the community, talking to the kids, putting the notes in, bringing them back, typing up a report and firing it off. But now I have all these other responsibilities where I'm having to go and do drug tests and do all this other stuff that I wasn't necessarily equipped to do. And doing all that with no training. And when I say no training, I mean no training. So previous to me jumping in there, previous to us coming on, state workers needed like 6 months, for dealing with the population of kids I was serving, which was, the probation, what we used to call OJS kids. You had 6 months of training. And that was just kind of an internship. And then you were still supervised as they walked you through it. I had 30 days of training. And on day 27, they pulled us aside and said, everything that you learned for those 27 days previous, that doesn't apply to you because you're working with kids that are on probation or in detention. So none of that stuff applies to you. They're a different thing. They're doing their own thing. Anyway, so I'm struggling hard. And, through conversations with my mom, I realized that, this ADHD thing, and I had watched a couple of episodes. There was this show on PBS called "Is It You, Me, or the ADHD?" I'm like, I feel like they're reading out of my journal. And I talked to my mom. She's like, "Oh yeah, they thought you had ADHD when you were a kid, but we never did the medication piece because you were fine." And I'm sitting there like, I'm not fine now. I'm a 30-year-old with constant anxiety, and I subsist on a diet of energy drinks just to endure my days so I can feel like I can focus. And so I got ADHD treatment. There was a whole circus behind that too. Going in to get treatment as an adult, even though I already had a diagnosis from when I was a kid. You had to go get re-diagnosed. And the first doctor I met with was like she was a resident. And I went through the whole thing and kind of told her what my issue was. And she's like, okay, yeah, it sounds like this is still kind of plaguing you. Let's figure out what we can do. Well, her attending decided that, hey, I'm a black guy here in here claiming he has ADHD. I must be drug seeking. And so instead of getting, ADHD meds, they put me on a bunch of anti-anxiety meds and stuff like that. And so what I'm trying to, and so I just kind of went along with it because I'm trusting the doctor. And the first thing that happened was next day I had court and I couldn't talk. Yeah, most of my job was spending days in the courthouse talking to judges and lawyers and advocating on behalf of my families. And I had no words. And I was like sitting there is almost like watching yourself, and you have everything you want to say, but it just will not come out of your mouth. And so basically they doped me up and I wasn't getting help, and things were actually getting worse on the work front. Like it was already a hard job, and people that were really good at it were struggling mightily. And then you have me who wasn't necessarily good at the paperwork, but I was great at going out and putting out fires with my kids and finding where they were. And I was in trouble. And the doctor I was with wasn't giving me help. So I changed providers and I found somebody that actually did go through the therapy piece with me and also got me on ADHD meds, which was great for the time being. Now, those that have done ADHD meds know that those come with their side effects. And the stimulants I were on were basically taking the parts of my personality that were engaging and entertaining, the things that make somebody in my case, want to marry you. And it took those away. And so I was zombied out. And a lot of it, hindsight being 2020, a lot of it was finding the right dose and the right medication. But I was so scared of losing my job that I just said, let me put my head down and grin and bear it. And let's climb this corporate ladder so that once I get to a point where I'm making enough money, I can dial back on the meds, and then I can be a dad, be the husband and the dad that my wife wants. Well, that didn't work out necessarily either, and kind of had a come to Jesus moment. And I had to say goodbye to ADHD meds for the time being. I still have supplements and things like that, but from the stimulant side of things, it was great for productivity, but not great for my personality. And there are parts of it where I probably do need to go back to see a doctor and get diagnosed and see if there's something else besides ADHD, because there's other pieces of it that don't necessarily mean ADHD diagnosis, and it could be nothing, but making sure that everything's up to date. So anyway, I bounced around after that point. I came back and did residential care, and residential was great for me. Once I figured out a flow with my paperwork and stuff like that, ADHD didn't become much of an issue because I could focus on my paperwork, and then when that became painful, I could turn around and refocus on other stuff. And for those that are just tuning in, I know this is kind of a rant about ADHD, but it really does go and serve the purpose of the story of how the Unstuck sessions came to be and how I use my experience navigating the treacherous world of being ADHD, trying to climb the corporate ladder in family and human services, and how I pivoted into being my own business owner, how to be a business owner, and the lessons I've learned along the way. And that's what the Unstuck sessions is. And so it's a place where business owners can come and get real talk and have real conversations about struggles with business ownership and get some resources so they can learn how to do their own marketing. But anyway, the idea is I learned a lot of different skills along the way of being diagnosed with ADHD, figuring out how to navigate the world without medication, and then figuring out that I needed to kind of go create my own path as a business owner. It was dope. It wasn't easy, and it's still not easy. And so that's really what I want to use this community to discuss, because ADHD is not the only barrier that somebody can encounter as a business owner. There's all kinds of other things in that neurodivergent space that can impact you as a business owner. There are things that are going on in your personal life that can impact you as a business owner. Am I actually good enough to charge people for this that you can go through as a business owner? How do I set my price as a business owner? There's a lot of different side conversations that we can have. I'm just telling what my story is. So anyway, long story short, I kind of come out of the case, I escaped case management by the skin of my teeth. Probably shaved some years off my life because there were some pretty dark things in that case management piece where I'm like, okay, if I don't get out of this case management stuff, I am not going to survive. I won't make it. I won't make it till 40. It's just kind of where I was. It wasn't a great place. And as somebody who had been a high achiever pretty much all their lives, it was really, really, really difficult to sit there and feel like you're drowning every single day. That is not a place where you want to be. And like I said, talking to my doctor at the time, who was helping manage the ADHD stuff before she went back out to Lincoln, she asked me straight up, she's like, is it the job, or is the job just impossible to do? And I had to really sit down and think about it, because I'm looking at more established people who had done that field of work, that line of work that I was in with the case management side. I was watching them completely overwhelmed. And somehow I thought that I was going to jump in there with no experience and with residential level experience and no real training that was specific to the population I was serving, and just master it. And so I was beating myself up for something I had no control over. So I get back to residential. I get brought on to establish a program that the residential place I had been at before never really had. It was kids that were coming directly out of super high level um, juvenile detention and trying to reintegrate them back into society, get them caught up medically, academically, and stuff like that, so that they can reintegrate back into society. And I did that, and I was really happy there. The problem was when I was doing residential. Um, I didn't have any boundaries about what my personal life was. And so what happened was I was spending 12, 13, 14 hours on, it was a salary position, but you didn't get compensated for that time. And I was like, this is my house, this is my program. I might as well have my name stamped on it. And so I hyper focused on making sure that we're delivering on firing on all cylinders with that program. I realized that I knew those kids better than I knew my own, and I had to move on because I had two toddlers at home, and that's just not a place I wanted to be. So I moved into a synthesis between my work as a caseworker and my work as a residential person working with kids and families. And so I was managing family support workers, and I did that for a couple of years, and it was a good place to be, but I was really missing interacting with kids on a day-to-day basis. Like, it was like overwhelming. And so I had an opportunity to kind of take a promotion and move up. It was more responsibilities, but it was running my own program where I was my own program supervisor, program manager. And I was in all aspects of managing this thing. Like, I was the guy. And I did that, and I was really enjoying that. But one thing I used to tell my staff is, if you ever get burnt out in human services, and this is for my human service workers, hopefully I have y'all in the Unstuck sessions because y'all are the ones that need this. But I was in human services, and I realized, and the thing I used to tell my staff was, if you ever get burnt out working with kids and families, if you ever get burnt out in this line of work, you need to quit, because you're working with kids and families, and the decisions you make and the things that you present to people are forever. And so when you get burnt out doing case management, or get burnt out doing residential care or something, you need to leave the field, because you're not bringing any value to those kids and families you're working with. And the things you set up are permanent. So you may make a decision on a court report that comes from exhaustion and frustration and sadness, but that family has to live with the outcome of that for years and years and years to come. So when you get to that point of burnout, you need to leave. And I had reached my point of burnout with residential when my mom died. I didn't have it in me anymore. And so that's where I had to learn how to be on my own business owner. And that's where a lot of the pathway that created the framework that we're going to use in the Unstuck sessions came along. I had to learn how to manage my time. I had to learn how to focus. I had to learn how to do a lot of other stuff without any net or without a supervisor standing over my shoulder. It was freeing in the sense that I could kind of create my own destiny, but it was also constricting because I had to build the house and live in it at the same time. And so I jumped into entrepreneurship the same way some people jump into a swimming pool. Which I do not recommend. Do not recommend 0 out of 0. I do not recommend you stop with your job and jump into entrepreneurship like I did. There's a fool's errand because you do not have the skills out the gate immediately to have immediate success. And, it's going to take a couple of years before your business is able to actually pay your bills. And a lot of times you get locked into a cycle where you are cannibalizing your business's growth just so that you can survive on a day-to-day basis. And that is something very hard to extract yourself from. The damage I did just abruptly quitting a career and jumping into business ownership is something a cost that we're still paying down. So if I had somebody to say, hey, pump the brakes, why don't you find something a little bit part-time that you can do, and then you can come work with me and then learn and kind of step into the business ownership piece of it. That would have been optimum. Instead, I quit the job and decided I was going to go buy a franchise. And that did not work. taking my ADHD self and jumping out of a highly structured environment where I had built a lot of the structure. So I was really supervising myself running the residential program. I was supervising myself, but I still had a framework around me. I still had hierarchy. I still had staff. I only had within the organization, I only had one or two levels above me, and I was one level removed from the COO, CEO level. So I was really self-managed and kind of ran my own thing, but I still had a framework to work within. There's a difference when you step out into the precipice and you're running your own business and you're doing your own thing. And you have to learn how to structure your own time, because the urge to do the thing that you're really comfortable with can be the thing that bites you in the rear. And the reality is, when you first start a business, you don't know what the hell you're doing. Even if you have decades of experience working for other people, there's a skill set of entrepreneurship that is different. And there's a lot of mindset shifts that happen. And so, and these are going to be these are going to be different little mindset classes that I'm going to put into the Unstuck sessions. But one of the biggest ones is you have to make a hard switch between being a customer of products and services to being a producer of products and services. And people downplay that. That is vastly important. There's a massive difference between being somebody that just consumes services and buys stuff, and somebody that actually produces and has to price and survive on the margins and stuff. It's a different game. And so when you're a business owner, the first lesson, and some business owners never escape this, but the first lesson is you can't proceed the road with your pocketbook when you're pricing your products or services. You have to make sure that you're able to survive on the margins in those products or services. So if you have a product, you have to make sure that that product, every unit you sell, is paying your bills. And your bills don't just include the cost of creating that product. You got to factor in all kinds of other stuff and layer it on top of that. And so it's a skill set you got to learn. It's a mindset shift, and it's not really that easy. And a lot of people struggle with it. A lot of business owners struggle with that piece of it, where they are so locked into their own pocketbook. They're looking at everything through their own wallet, and it's not a great place to be. And so that's one of the early skills that I had to nail down, is not everybody sees things through my wallet. It's crazy. So let's keep it pushing. And so there's a module that I'm going to create for that one. The next part is, how to price your services. So once you get past your avatar and stuff like that, you got to learn how to price your services. And I'm separating pricing your services from the concept of transitioning from a client to a producer, or a consumer to a producer. These are separate things separate mindset shifts that you have to have. But when it comes to pricing things, you need to understand that your price is your positioning in the market. And so if you price yourself as a discount service, you're positioning yourself as a discount service. And when you are the discount service, you get discount service expectations that go along with it. And people assume that you're of lesser quality. The analogy I've used to explain this point is, if you ask a mechanic, and mechanics, y'all can jump in here and correct me if you know more about cars than I do. That's probably realistic. But I mean, that's probably likely you know a lot more about cars than I do. But let's be honest. If you ask a mechanic, which car has more value to them, and you have a BMW and a Honda over here, the mechanic's going to pick the Honda. The consumer's going to pick the BMW more times than not, because a Honda engine can run forever. With maintenance, those things, they might start burning oil later on, but they run forever. They're incredible engines. BMWs are marked by the amount of maintenance they have to undergo just to survive. And so if you ever have an old BMW, ever had to work or own one and have to get it, it's absolutely insane. And so they actually know the value, and there's a discrepancy in the value of it. And when you're pricing the services, you need to understand that a lot of things are tied to the value. And so that's why Hondas retain their value so well. Toyotas too, to a degree, because people know that those cars retain their value, they provide value, they last forever, and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, you can buy a BMW for dirt cheap, an old BMW for dirt cheap, because that car is falling apart more times than not, even with regular maintenance. And so as a business owner, you have to learn how to price your services to speak more to the value and disconnect a little bit from that price point, because the price point isn't completely immaterial, and it's not realistic to think about that it's going to be immaterial to everybody. But if you are constantly trying to undercut everybody, you're going to reach a threshold where you're not making any money, but you're doing more work than you've ever done before, because you're never going to be able to beat Walmart on price. It's just not going to happen. And if you do, if you're able to beat Walmart on price for your service or for your product, you're not making a dime off of it. Because they can buy at bulk buy things at bulk that you can't afford. And the multiples are absolutely astonishing. You're never going to be able to beat them at the pricing game. And so you have to get better at the value game. And you need to make sure that your product or service is ticking the boxes of value so that you can set your asking price high. Dan Kennedy said this: there's no strategic advantage of being the second cheapest option. You just don't need, that's not a place where you want to be. Because like I said, when you have discount expectations, that means people think they can talk to you anyway and treat you any old way. And that's not a place where you necessarily want to be to grow. It's just not a productive place. And so there's mindset shifts that have to occur there. So I've given you a lot, and I've kind of rambled about the idea of the Unstuck Sessions Skool community. I invite y'all to sign up. It's a community we're building out, and a lot of it's going to be based on the interactions of the people that are involved in it. And like I said, I'm really trying to just bring in business owners or people that are serious about starting their own business, and not a bunch of people that are just curious and don't really have an agenda or ideas about starting a business, because that's not beneficial for anybody. So that's what the vision is. I really do hope that y'all sign up for this, because I'm putting a lot of heart and soul into it. And eventually I do want to, focus on the coaching aspect more than the done for you services, because I feel like the done for you services, I can't maintain the quality over them that I want to if I outsource it. And I'm realizing that about myself. I'm too much of a perfectionist to let some of this stuff go. But at the same time, I do need to let it go. But it's a balance. And I think I'm best served giving people the framework that I've learned to kind of get to where I am, and teaching them how they can adjust it to their life circumstances. Plus, a place where people can come with a problem about business or marketing and talk to seasoned professionals who can help them get them unstuck. So that's what I got. Go ahead and join the community. I know this devolved into a conversation about my ADHD, and I apologize, but that's how it goes. I've been up since 3 this morning. So my mind is kind of running on E right now. But I do appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to probably clip the Skool video so that you can kind of see it as the introductory video, and sign up, register while it's free. I haven't added a price point to it, but I will probably by the end of the month, as I get more courses and stuff built out. So the people that get in now, and the people I've reached out to independently, you're my experts that I want to bring in. So we're going to have a different level of conversation. But the people that are joining now, you can jump in and get the benefit of all of those first courses and things along those lines, where you get access to them. So that's all I got. I appreciate y'all's time. I am going to try my best to sign out here. This computer, StreamYard, is acting a fool today. So hopefully I can sign out. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.